Sometimes it's the little things that can make a big difference. Last week I was flipping through the channels and came across a Russian film that was done in 1959 called Ballad of a Soldier. It had subtitles, and it was a very, very well produced film, and it's not a war film in the usual sense. It describes the effects of war on families, on a nation, on the infrastructure, and it depicts the romantic love of a young couple, the committed love of two married couples, and how their relationships are affected by the war, and a mother's love of her child. And the film begins with a Russian soldier running away from some German tanks. And in the process, he finds himself able to actually disable the Russian tanks, and is given a 6-day pass to go home so that he can visit his mother and also to fix her roof. It's a very simple story, but the acting in it is very, very good. Two very young actors do a great job. And during his journey, he encounters the devastation of war that has been brought on Russia. And he meets numerous people along the way, gives them hope by virtue of his likable character and his positive attitude. He rides in a freight car and meets a young woman there who is also escaping the ravages of war. And at first, they're antagonistic towards one another, but eventually fall in love. He gets to his mother's home. He's sidetracked by doing good deeds for some of his soldier friends, some from the front. He finally gets to see his mother. He only gets to be with her for a few minutes until he has to go back. I won't tell you the ending of the film, but if you have a chance to see Ballad of a Soldier, a Russian film that was released in 1959, take the opportunity to do so. But there was one particular scene in the film that I found interesting. As he's meeting up with some soldiers who are at the front, they learn that he has this 6-day pass, and he will be going through one of the towns that this one particular soldier where his wife is, and he wants this young Russian soldier to take a gift. And the gift is a bar of soap, I mean, it was treasure. This was something that no one was going to give up freely or without a fight. And sure enough, they go into the supply bag of that particular regiment, give him this soap, and he carries this soap with him all the way to this particular town in order to give it to this man's wife. And again, I won't tell you the outcome of all that. And the basic simple things of life are often lost on us, where a bar of soap becomes so important. And I was reading a story yesterday about soap, and I've asked the same type of question. This past weekend I was in Tennessee, and the weekend before that I was in Los Angeles, and I've been in hotels across the country for many, many years, and of course they give you those little bars of soap. And each day, if the maid comes in to fix up your room, you're going to find another fresh bar of soap in the little package and so forth. And the older piece of soap, you ask, what do they do with all those pieces of soap? Well, they throw them away. Well, a young man from Uganda was distressed with all this, and says when he asked what happened to all the used soap, the man was floored by the answer: it's thrown away. For Americans, it may not seem like a big deal, but to Kayongo, who lived in Kampala, Uganda, until he was 10, then fled with his family to Kenya to escape the military dictatorship of Idi Amin, it was a waste of a precious commodity. He called his father a businessman and former soap maker back home. Now, this is interesting because he called his father, who is a businessman. He didn't turn this over to the government. He turned it over to somebody who understands soap making and understands the business side of all this. Because with this, if you can make some money on the deal, you can help with other things. You can employ people. You can put people to work. It helps the larger economy, of course, until the government comes in and begins to shut those types of things down because they don't want competition. They believe that only government should be in charge of things. He says, we thought it was wasteful. For those of us who came from countries that don't have much, it's unbelievable. At home, people are dying from diseases. Soap and clean water, he reasoned, could go a long way to stopping the spread of germs and certain illnesses. So what he and his wife and others have done, they started a company called the Global Soap Project, which is based out of their Lawrenceville home in Georgia. The project collects soap from hotels around the nation and recycles them using equipment that sanitizes and melts the soap. The soap later solidifies and it's cut into bars and shipped to Africa. I think this is a tremendous idea. We have other organizations out there, again, these little things. Operation Smile, for example, is important, where doctors work and go to these countries where young children have these cleft palates and cleft lips, and they are ostracized. Many of them are made fun of and ridiculed, and they have to stay, behind closed doors because of the intimidation that they feel among their villagers. They can't go to school. So these doctors go over there, and what is considered a minor operation here in the United States is a big deal in these other countries. There are other organizations out there that go over there and help drill wells because for clean water, not only do they have the antiseptic aspect of the soap here, but clean water to go with it. Now these are little things that we take for granted here in the United States. Mosquito netting is another one of these things. Now the larger context of this, of course, is why is it that these nations are so backward? And I believe it has something to do, of course, with their worldview. There's envy all about these villages and these small towns. When somebody prosperous does come up, when someone puts the entrepreneurial spirit to work in their community, there will be those who will destroy it. It's worse than covetousness. The Bible describes it as rottenness to the bones. That's what envy is. So if we're going to change these societies, one way we can get a foothold into these societies is through these small endeavors like Operation Smile and what this young man and his wife are doing, just with taking discarded bars of soap and digging wells and mosquito netting. And with that, Christians need to see this as kind of a wedge issue in order to bring the gospel. Now, bringing the gospel, as James said, but leaving people in their poverty is not the way to go. And then bringing the gospel and not transforming their lives and so that their culture is transformed is not really the gospel either. If we're going to make headway around the world with the gospel, we have to go in there with not only the love of Christ in our heart, not only with the actual preaching of the gospel, but also dealing with their own physical and personal needs. And one way to do that is to bring our know-how into these communities and begin that process. So I've been encouraged by things like this. According to Smith Travel Research, there are more than 4.8 million hotel rooms in the United States. At last count, more than 130 hotels were participating in all of this this is making a difference in people's lives, where here in the United States we discard so much. And if something like this can be done with soap, can you imagine what could be done with other things that we discard as well? But again, I think the biggest thing we need to take overseas is the gospel, and also with the comprehensive worldview that goes with it. So if you're interested in this, like Operation Smile, it is called the Global Soap Project. Give it a look-see to see where you might be able to help with it.
American Vision is proud to present this year's Worldview Super Conference, July 21st through 24th at North Metro Church, Marietta, Georgia. For more information, visit conference.americanvision.org. That's conference.americanvision.org.